Hello, we are going over the 2025 model of the quantum resonance crystal bed control box and its connectors. So this is the control box, front of the control box, top, back, right side, left side, I guess it depends on which way you're looking at it, and then obviously the bottom. With the control box, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total connections. Each connection is its own size and shape, so you cannot confuse one plug with another. They are all specifically designed to plug and play, so it's a very easy connection system, and most of it is off-the-shelf connections. So let's start with the right side and move our way around. Looking at the box, we have this small plug. That's a power plug for charging your music player. It's a standard 5-volt plug that you find everywhere in the world. The next plug is 3.5 millimeter cable for the audio that goes between your music player and the control box. The next one is your headphones. This is not a plug, this is a control. And then we'll flip over to the other side. We have lights, the PEMF holders, the transducers which vibrate, and finally the plug to power the whole system up. Let's start with the plug over here. On this plug we have, actually let me zoom this in a little bit. On this plug we have one side with a clip, and it's 6 prongs on it, so it can only go in one direction. The mating surface, the white part that goes on to here, has a little tab going on one side, and again, if you try to put it in upside down, you can't make it work. It only goes in one way and clips and closes down. The next item, we're going to work on this side. We have the charging cable, which just plugs in. And then we take our 3.5. Let me zoom out again. Really quickly, we have 2 different length 3.5 cables. One of them's really long, one of them's shorter. The really long one is if you want to be sitting down somewhere and controlling the music player from where you're sitting. Plug that in, you're going to hear it snap, snap, snap. Now let's go ahead, and each music player is a little bit different, so there's going to be a separate video on those. But just know that you're going to plug these in place. Plug it in as so, and then your music player is attached to the control box. With the headphones, we have the larger 1/4-inch sized barrel connector, and that's all you need to do. The headphones themselves have this connector, which pulls out, and you could see it was a little bit difficult for me to do that, but it plugs in and snaps in place, so you can replace this cable if needed. And so it goes in and it makes a nice connection. Let us go to the other side. This is the transducer cable. This pulls back when it's time to take it off. See how it's going in at an angle? That would be up, angle. So if you tried to put it in, it only goes in one way. Push it in, turn, snap. Take it off, pull back with your thumb, turn, pull out. So really simple. I'm going to get this out of the way so we can see what we're doing. This is the light bar plug. It goes in facing down, snaps in place. When you release it, there's a silver push button right here. Let me give you a close-up. Push, and then pull it out. Snap in place, push, pull it out. Finally, we have the PEMF cable. This has a BNC connector, which is a twist barrel, and what that means is you're going to push it in and then twist it to lock it in place. The barrel has these little diagonal cutouts that allow you to do that. So, once again, you turn it until it goes in place, twist, and then it locks in. To get it off, untwist and pull out. I'll zoom this back out for a second. The PEMF cable has these two hand holders, and these plugs are going to push in place. It doesn't matter if the red goes to one or the other, or the black goes to one or the other, it doesn't matter. But they just push in place, and you'll see they stick out a little bit. On this particular one, it goes in almost flush, but this one sticks out a little bit. It may be different on whatever you're getting, but just know that they push in. Those are the connectors. We're going to move on to workings in a minute. Alright, we are going over the controls on the system, and this is the back of the control box. This part is going to face the bed where the client can reach these controls. We have already connected up music and the transducers, so you'll be able to actually hear what's going on, and now we're going to play some music. So with the system, we have bed for the vibrations that you can hear, and then the headphones. We haven't hooked up the headphones, but it's going to be the same way where you turn it to make them go up and down. To mute the volume, press in. Press out to unmute it. That's really important to know, because sometimes somebody may inadvertently push that and there's no sound, and you're going to be like, what's going on? So they're just muted. They have an infinite amount of travel, these two buttons, these two knobs. They travel infinitely, but they'll only get so loud and so quiet. This is a very powerful system, so I can't turn it up all the way with the speakers that I'm using. The part over here, it says cutoff. What that does is changes how much music the transducers see or play. So when you turn it all the way to the left, it does a smaller percentage of the music. So basically the lower end, that's the boomy, bassy stuff. When you do this part, it gives you about half of the music. So it brings it up to 1200 hertz and then starts to roll it off slowly. That is good for lower end male vocals, crystal bowls, things like that. So you still get a lot of that frequencies going into it if you want. If you're like at a fair or something, you can obviously turn it down, or if somebody needs more quiet, you can turn that down. Now let's look at the next one. This is boost. This will actually boost the music in the middle of this low end frequency. So around 150 hertz it starts boosting, and it goes a big arc between 80 to 300. And you can hear it getting a little bit muddy, I guess you could say. But that's what that does, and it's useful for music that doesn't have a lot of extenuation in those frequencies. There is also a DSP inside here, which automatically boosts frequencies below 50 hertz when it doesn't see specific conditions. So you'll get very low end sound that way. So we've tried to cover all the bases. And that is the back. Here is the video card that plays the lighting system. So the lighting system is actually contained right here, and it tells it what conditions or what lights to play. We're going to go over that in a little bit. Welcome back. We are going over the different types of lighting that we have, and now we have the infrared lighting. The infrared lighting is connected to the frequency generator on the front panel. We have 3 selectable positions for it: off, steady, and flashing. As you can see, we just turned on flashing, and we set the frequency generator on the front panel to something below 40 Hertz. And I'm slowing it down now to about 20 Hertz so you can see the flashing quite well. Our eyes can't distinguish stuff above like 45 Hertz, so that's why we had to turn it down just for this video. But just know that if it's at a higher frequency, it's still working. You just can't see it as well. The infrared lighting is pulsating, so it can entrain your body better to the frequencies. So when I turn this around, you'll see that the infrared light is really bright, and it actually faces the client to help with inflammation reduction. It's also entering into the crystal, so it is going into a scalar field as well. There are 7 of those, and again, you can turn them on, off, or flashing. And now we're going to go over to the multicolored lights. And with the multicolored lights, we have a simple on or off. And there are 7 LEDs in each one of these. Sorry, 8 LEDs in each one of these. And that's a total of 56 LEDs that glow bright. And what we have is 4 red buttons on the top of the panel that control these. So we have slower, faster, memory, and control. So when we push the control button, what it does is it changes the lighting around. That's useful, so if you find something you like, you can hit memory, and it'll store it in long-term memory, so you can come back to it and it'll always be there. So the first thing up, we have chakras going from the left all the way over to the right. So starting with red on the left, moving all the way over. And we hit the button again, and we go to a slow pulsation. So we can change the speed on the button system to make those pulsate faster or slower. And what we're doing is creating a cleansing effect with the chakras. So we're going all white to the chakra color. And the next one is we have a reversal. So red is now on the opposite side, going all the way down. That's helpful if we have the system set up opposite, so it starts at the other end of the massage table. And we have to make adjustments for anyone to set up the table any which way they want to. The next one is just a standardized color system where it's going to slowly change colors, and that's just a fun effect that, you know, if you feel tuned into doing that, you can use it. Here's another one where each one of the holders is going to rapidly go through different colors. It's a fun effect. Use it if you feel drawn. Next one is purple and blue. That's great for skin ailments and calling in the violet ray. And the red one is great for inflammation reduction. Couple that with the deep infrared and it's really great. Then we have the chakras that we're going up with orange, yellow, green, blue, dark blue, violet, and finally white again. The information manual will have all that written down for you as well. And onto the front panel. On the left side we have the on-off switch, down for off, up for on. And you can see when it's on, the frequency generator shows that it's turned on. So that's what we use for the indicator. The next one is the infrared, where we have 3 positions for that button. There is off, pulsation, and steady. Finally, we have lights with the simple on or off. And those are the 3 buttons. Let's move over to the frequency generator now. So the frequency generator is composed of frequencies that go from 0 Hertz to about 3 kilohertz. And we have a total of 4 buttons, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. The lines, we have 2 lines, top and bottom. The top has the frequencies, the bottom is the duty cycle, or how often it's going to stay on versus off. So at 100% duty cycle, it doesn't shut off. It's one continuous straight line. We prefer to keep this between 40 and 60%, and you can move the duty cycle with the right button as shown here. Now that's close to being full on. Now it's a full straight line. It never shuts off, so it would output 432 Hertz all the time. We prefer to have the frequency dip, so turning off and turning back on for maximum efficiency with the body. And again, leave it somewhere between 40 to 60%. Now the frequency, when we turn this below the 40 Hertz, you'll see the lights flicker if you have that set to flashing. We typically use Hertz, and the reason being is that when we go into kilohertz, it doesn't get as fine-tuned, and we can find all of the frequencies we need between 1 and 1,000 Hertz. Everything within there, you can have overtones and double octaves and things like that, so you can find other frequencies in the kilohertz without actually going into those. The consolidated frequency list will give you a full readout of what kind of frequencies are available. But we tend to use solfeggio like 532 and also master numbers like 111, and those are beneficial healing frequencies. So here we have the right side as you're looking in the front. We have the PEMF, headphones, and music in. The PEMF is adjusted through this knob here. It is extremely sensitive, so start off very, very slow increments when you're holding on to the PEMF rods. You need to hold on to the rods in order to feel the adjustment. So you can do it with one hand holding the rod while simultaneously moving the adjuster. It is a very sensitive adjustment, so go slow until you find just the right amount. And just know, even if you can't feel it very strongly, it's still working. The other parts we have on the left side, we have the transducer plug, we have the handholds plug, and then the lights. So here we have the underside, and this is the power connector. We also have the shoe for the tripod and the 4 feet. Let's get on to the mounting of the tripod onto the shoe. So the shoe has a button on one side and a lever on the other. The button matches where it says red button this side. It can't go on the other way. It will lock itself out. So what you do is you press the button and slide it on. See how it's lining up? And click, goes on. You can wiggle it back and forth, and it doesn't want to come off, but it's still too loose. So that's where the lever comes in. Now the lever can spin all the way around. However, it runs into a problem, and that is the control box will keep it from taking a full revolution. So what we need to do is when we get to the point where it stops, we can pull the lever out and turn it while keeping the nut steady. So you turn that and it gives you a whole new 180 degrees of movement. And you do that maybe 1 or 2 times and it'll tighten up just fine. You can see I'm moving the nut now with my finger. So that's what you don't want. You just want that to spin freely. Get it to where you need to, turn it again, and then it'll lock down where my other finger is. So when it gets to you, it should be just so you can slide it on and turn it 180 degrees and it'll lock in place. So now you'll see me turn this, trying to give you a good picture here, turn, 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 and now it's locked down. I can wiggle this all I want and it doesn't go anywhere. So that becomes a very secure mounting location. Now when you want to take it off, just turn it the other way till it's loose, push the button, and it's off. Simple as that. Alright, we're going to go over the mounting of the rubber pieces, the crystals inside the rubber pieces into the holders. So the holders have 2 sides. One side has this little white piece that has an LED in it. That's the bottom that faces the massage table. The top looks like it has these like little fine grains on it. You can see some grain work. And it also has a lip right on the inside. That lip is what this rubber piece sits into. When we initially put the rubber piece in, we kind of work it around. See right now, that rubber piece is kind of sitting up a little bit right there. Push, push, push it around until it sits flush. You can give it a little gentle tug and you know that that's in here. You can then at that point insert your crystal, pop the saddle over the crystal and push the crystal up a little bit. It just prevents the crystal from falling out accidentally if it's moving around and things like that. If you need to get the crystal out, there's 2 methods. You can pull the saddle over it, or you can actually push the crystal with the saddle in place and it'll pop this whole thing out. So you could in theory just push this back together with everything in place. If it is too hard to do, you may need to wiggle and loosen the crystal to get that to happen. So that's how you get those 2 in place. We're going to now focus on the connectors. Each one of your holders, 7 of them, right, have these connectors. And this is called a mini DIN connector. There's little plugs inside here. We put a white stripe to signify the top. When we go to insert this piece, we want to line it up with more or less the white piece and that. So let's see. We're going to gently insert it and lightly twist it until you feel it kind of lock in place. And then, see if I can get a good side profile on this. Then you can wiggle it down a little bit. And it only moves a little bit down and locks into place. You can have the light bar turned on and running when you do this, so you can verify that you in fact turned on your lights. When it comes time, let's do a little zoom out. When it comes time to close these up, you have 2 of these segment tools. One of them is bigger than the other. It's like Sesame Street, right? Which one of these is bigger? So the bigger one is for the base. We'll get to how the smaller one works in a minute. So we're going to take the bigger one, and the part that looks like I sawed it off, because I did, is going to face the light bar. There we go. So it's going to gently go down. And I put this on backwards on purpose so you can see what happens. It's harder to get it on. So when you flip it like this so it's correct, it'll sit correctly down here, and it'll just push it on in place. If you are working with these and this disconnects in the middle, that's what the smaller one's for. It tells you here, it says socket end up, ball end up. So that's kind of hard for me to figure out sometimes, but here's the ball and here's the socket. So ball end up, well, that's probably this side. And then you put these together, you see how these fit together. And if it doesn't work, if it feels like it's not working, you did it backwards, like I just did it backwards. So here we are. See how that is? And you're going to hear that satisfying pop. So that put that back together. The other one sits on here and then closes down with the bottom part. You are going to not have to do this. We will go ahead and put all of these on and verify they're working before we close this up and ship it out to you. You will have a spare one of these. So typically if one of these goes out, it's going to be the end one. And it's going to be the end one that is where this cable is. And when I say typically, it's like 1 out of 100 bars may have one of these fritz out on it a year or two later. So it's not something that's prominent, but we went ahead and made all of these replaceable in case something happens where you can just pop in new ones. And you can get those from us. So there you have it.